Section 7.4 is factored form of a quadratic equation. So we're going to learn how to graph these a bracket x minus r bracket x minus s. These are a different form than what you're used to, and usually what we've been doing so far is graphing them on our calculator. But this section we're going to learn how to graph without using our calculator. It's a good idea to learn how to do that because then you understand what all the pieces of the equation mean. So the first thing I want you to do is sketch the graph of 2x squared plus 14x plus 12. But first, we have to factor this. And you have to remember how to factor these going back to your grade 10. So if I have a number in front of the x squared, then what I want to do is I actually want to factor out that number first. So I'm going to change this to 2 bracket, because everything has a 2 common, x squared plus 7x plus 6. Next thing I do is I look at the inside, x squared plus 7x plus 6, and I need to factor it. So what two numbers multiply to 6 and add to 7? Right? What two numbers multiply to 6 and add to 7? That would be a positive 6 and a positive 1. You could say that 2 times 3 is 6, but 2 plus 3 doesn't equal 7. Right? Those are the only other factors of 6, are 2 and 3. So what do I do with those two numbers? Well, I put them inside brackets, right? So my 2 stays outside, and my factored form is x plus 6, x plus 1. Notice now that it's in this form, y equals a, x minus r, x minus s. Notice that up here I have x minus r and x minus x, or s. In this question here, though, they both end up being positive. Well, what does that mean? That means that my two x-intercepts are x equals negative 6 and x equals negative 1. So my x-intercepts are x equals negative 6 and x equals negative 1. Because what you're looking for is where it crosses on the x-axis. And where it crosses on the x-axis is where my y value is 0, and where my y value is 0, which means that either this bracket, the whole set of brackets, equals 0, or that one equals 0. And the only way for that one to equal 0 is x equals negative 6. The only way for x plus 1 to equal 0 is if x equals negative 1. So just be aware of that it's x minus r and x minus s, right? So it means basically that if your signs in the middle, or the signs inside, are positive, it's going to end up being a negative. If the signs inside are negative, then you're going to end up being a positive. It's just kind of backwards, just based on the fact what makes it equal 0. Okay, I'll move on. Next thing, so I have my x-intercepts right here. Good. Now I just need my y-intercept. Y-intercept is kind of easy. You just plug a 0 into x. So you get y equals 2, 0 plus 6, and 0 plus 1. So you get y is equal to, let's see here, 0 plus 6 is 6, 0 plus 1 is 1, so I get 6 times 1 times 2, which is 12. Or you could go right up to the original equation and plug a 0 into x, so that one's 0, that one's 0, I'm just left with 12. Okay, probably an easier way to do it would be plug it into the original one. So my y-intercept is 12. Let's start putting this stuff on our graph. So my first thing I know is my x-intercepts of negative 6, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over here. I got another x-intercept of negative 1 right there. My y-intercept is at 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Be way up there. I'll have to extend my graph up a bit. Now what I need is my axis of symmetry, because my axis of symmetry is going to tell me where my graph is kind of cut in half. You can kind of maybe tell, but it's hard to tell just based on your x-intercepts. It's not necessarily going to be halfway between those. Okay, let's check here. So my axis of symmetry, what I do is I take my r value, and remember that my r value is up here, and my s value is right here. So my r value is negative 6, so I get negative 6, plus my s value. My s value is negative 1. See why it's really important to know what sign your r and your s are? And then dividing by 2. So my axis of symmetry, and this should be your x value, x equals. So negative 6 plus negative 1 is negative 7, divided by 2 is negative 3.5. So where is that? Well, it's negative 1, 2, 3.5, right here. So I go right down, and that line will cut my graph in half. Last thing I need is my vertex. How am I going to figure out where my vertex is? Well, you use your axis of symmetry, your x equals value. So I use the fact that x equals negative 3.5, and I plug it into my formula from my original graph up here, 2x squared plus 14x plus 12, y equals 2x squared plus 14x plus 12, and I plug my negative 3.5 in through this equation to figure out what my y value is going to be. So I would probably use a calculator for this. It's just easier. So I have 3.5, actually let's do this one, 2 times 3.5, try it again, 2 bracket negative 3.5 squared. It's going to be positive anyway, so that's all right, plus 14 times 12 times negative 3.5, negative 3.5 plus 12. Okay, negative 12.5. So the point for my vertex is negative 3.5, comma, negative 12.5. So I would go over negative 1, 2, 3.5. It should be on my axis of symmetry. And then I have to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it'll be way down at the bottom there. Okay, and to sketch my graph, I would connect all my points. Remember, this is a parabola, so it's got to have some curve to it. Oops. And then remember, your graph goes all the way up to your y-intercept. So it's going to be very skinny and passes through that point there. And it's going to keep on going up on that. Whoops. It's going to keep on going up on this side as well. So we've sketched a picture of our graph without using a calculator, except for just to calculate some small values. But we can figure out where the intercepts are, where my vertex is based on my axis of symmetry, and your y-intercept, and so on, just by factoring it. And using the little formula for axis of symmetry, it basically says it's halfway between your two x-intercepts. I think I said that it wasn't, but I guess it always is. It's always halfway between those. All right. So how do you know if r and s are positive or negative? Like I just said, right? Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell. So in this case, my r value is equal to 5. My s value is equal to 2. Because the minus signs are there, what value would I plug into x? A 5, right? To make that equal to 0. What value would I plug into x to make that equal 0? A 2. Now, what about this one? R is going to be equal to what value of x? Negative 5. What value of x for this one is going to make that one 0? A positive 2. Okay, now this one. My r value would be positive 5. My s value would make that equal to 0, would be a negative 2. And the last one here, my r value for x would be negative 5. And my s value for x would be a negative 2. So just be aware of that it's in the form x minus r and x minus s. So if it's minus sign, they're just going to both be positive. If you have the plus sign, then your r value or your s value is going to change. Okay. Lastly, the upside down graph. So here we have in factored form. So I know that my two intercepts are going to be negative 3, and my other one is going to be at positive 2. And just to double check, let's just graph this one on our calculator. So I have y equals, clear that, and put it in exactly as it's written. 2 minus x, bracket, x plus 3. Okay, make sure our window's okay. Yeah, let's change that. Let's change that from go to zoom standard, number 6 here, it'll change the window automatically. There we go. I can see my one intercept's at -3, my other intercept's at 2. I'm not asking you to graph this one. If I was, you would probably just use your calculator. But you can see that it's upside down. Now, why is it upside down? Why would it be shaped like this? Can you see? Well, if I multiply out my set of brackets, what ends up happening? Well, I get 2 times 3, which is 6. Sorry, first of all, I get 2 times x. 2 times x is 2x. Then 2 times 3 is a plus 6. Look at this. I have a negative x times a positive x. That's a negative x squared. And lastly, I have a minus 3x. So if I rearrange this in order, I get a negative x squared. I get a 2x minus a 3x, which is a minus 1x, plus 6. Notice my x squared term has a negative sign. I think I mentioned this before in another video, that means that my graph is going to be upside down. So be aware of that a negative sign in front of your x squared means upside down. Also understand how to find the intercepts, right? This is a plus 3, so it's going to be back 3. This is also if I took the negative sign out, it would be an x minus 2, which you kind of have to do to figure out the intercept for that one. For example, I don't know why I put expanded there. Well, there's the expanded form down there. If I took the negative sign out of the first set of brackets, my x would become positive, my 2 would become negative, and the other set of brackets would stay exactly the same. I haven't done anything. So notice the negative sign is out in front, upside down. Where are my zeros? At plus 2 and at negative 3, right? My r value is 2, and my s value is negative 3.